Hi everyone, welcome back to Storytime Recaps. In this video, I'm going to recap one of the film from 2020. Don't listen. Without any further, let's get started. The film opens with Daniel, who just bought a house, pulling a red ball out of a filthy pool with a net while a metal gate surrounds them, while his son Eric is upstairs talking to a psychotherapist. As Eric struggles to fall asleep, his psychotherapist tries to reassure him that it's natural to feel angry after moving. When she asks him why he couldn't sleep, Eric answers that he hears voices telling him to sketch. When his psychologist asks him what they are saying, he responds that he couldn't tell her what these voices are saying and keeps playing with his toy. On her way out, the psychologist tells his parents, Daniel and Sarah, that Eric has a lot of imagination and that these voices are related to the fact that he had to get used to playing and talking by himself because he grew up alone. She also accuses his lack of sleep on his instability from moving around. After she leaves, Eric walkie-talkie starts making static and he starts drawing. Simultaneously, the psychologist's radio started to show a static message. As she attempted to adjust the sound, a fly got into her right ear and her eyes turned red. She seemed to be under the influence of something, which made her foot on the gas. Unable to slow down, she collides with a tree branch, which kills her by piercing her car's windshield. A fly then emerges from her left bleeding ear. Meanwhile, Eric drew a branch of a tree that was bloodied and pinned it to the wall. Later on, Daniel discovers that his wall is infested with flies and begins to spray it. After that, Eric calls him on the walkie-talkie and asks that he remove his red ball from the pool, since he's not allowed to enter the area alone. Later, as Eric was by himself in a bath, he started to hear static voices. He asks her if his father despises him, startled by what she heard. Sarah asks him on the cause of this absurdity. Eric tells Sarah that his father told him over a walkie-talkie. Sarah flatly denies this and assures her kid that his father loves him. However, at night when she asks Daniel if he has reprimanded or yelled at his kid, Daniel responds that he has never done so, believes that he is simply acting out, and vows to spend more time with him. A few hours later, Daniel is awakened by the sound of the pool gate and Eric hears static noises coming from his walkie-talkie again. After closing the gate and enter the home again, Daniel hears his son talking to someone on the walkie-talkie. Meanwhile, the toys in his room have begun to go off. When Eric tries to pick up one of his toys, he discovers a dead person's foot standing under the plastic sheet in his room. He immediately leaps onto his bed and pulls his bed sheet over his head, and then starts to hear whispers. As soon as someone walks inside his room, the voices stop. When Daniel tries to take the sheet off of Eric's to check what's wrong, Eric pulls him away, cutting Daniel's hand on a picture frame. Sarah then bursts into the room and starts to console Eric. The following morning, when Daniel notices a number of flies on the cracked wall, he only shows his annoyance. Simultaneously, he notices his wife and son coming home. Surprised to see them so early, Sarah informs him that Eric has been expelled for biting the principal who was attempting to remove him from a closet he had hidden in. When she chooses to call him again, Eric informs her that the psychologist has passed away and that the voices were the ones who informed him. After some time, Daniel receives a call informing him of the psychologist's passing. Sarah is shocked and questions how Eric could have heard about it. However, Daniel dismisses it, claiming that he must have heard it from a schoolmate. Daniel then visits Eric in his room and, after speaking with him, helps him relax. That following evening, Eric draws something with his walkie-talkie to his ear and then leaves his room. When his wife wakes him up to lock the pool gate once more, Daniel descends the stairs and discovers the door open, so he reaches for his gun and checks the house. Sarah, who is now up as well, gets into Eric's room and discovers that he is gone. When she hears Daniel call for his son, she quickly hurries outside. When Daniel arrives at the pool and discovers his son staring downward, he leaps in and pulls him out, but it is too late. After the funeral, Daniel and Sarah returned home and were seen experiencing the terrible emotions of losing a child. Sarah makes the decision to visit her parents and invites Daniel go, stating that it would benefit him as well. Daniel responds that he has made the decision to stay and complete the house. They argue briefly. Sarah refuses to stay in the house after everything that has happened. While he is sobbing and watching some footage of Eric and Sarah together, he apologizes to Sarah via voice message for his actions in the morning. When he turns off the video, he hears a strange noise behind him and thinks it's someone using a walkie-talkie. Sarah calls Daniel in the morning because she is concerned about him. She informs him that she is worried about the mail he sent him last night since it includes strange voices that sound like screaming. He calms her by stating that it must be a faulty signal. He then listens to the message to find out what's happening and believes that his wife is right. After opening it on his computer to boost the signal, he starts listening to the recording. At one point in the recording, he hears Eric's voice yelling for help, which frightens him. Daniel eventually attends the book signing of German Domingo, a well-known author and paranormal occurrences investigator with expertise in electronic voice phenomena. During their meeting, Daniel forces German, who is not persuaded by Daniel's argument, to listen to the recording. After some back and forth, he consents. German and his daughter Ruth are then seen visiting Eric's home. However, Ruth doesn't think the tape definitely explains electronic voice occurrences. However, German is thrilled to see this occurrence after his wife passed away. While she sets up her equipment, German and Daniel go for a walk. Daniel says he would do anything to help his son, but German informs Daniel that life after death might not be as beautiful as people believe. After that, Daniel leads German to the swimming pool and describes what happened. According to the police, Eric may have been trapped on a branch while trying to get his ball from the pool. However, Daniel tells German that this cannot have happened, since Eric is able to swim and never enters the pool without permission. After Ruth installs a thermal camera and other tools that assist with noises that are inaudible to the human ear, they begin their research. As he enters the master bedroom alone, while Ruth observes German through the security cameras in another room, she was unable to see anything for a few minutes, and as time went on, she became irritated. After that, she turns on the thermal camera and notices someone seated on a bed. When she asks her father to instruct him to leave the room since he is getting in the way, German informs her that Daniel is already outside. Once she returns to the standard camera, nothing is visible. It seems somewhat odd. The German goes upstairs to Eric's room, and as soon as he steps inside, he starts to lose contact with Ruth. He hears an odd noise, and then there's a loud interference, so he removes his headphones. Ruth, Daniel, and German then watch the recordings together. This gave German more evidence, but Ruth doesn't think so. Still, German made the decision to carry on with his work tomorrow. At night, when German awakens from a nightmare, he hears the voices of his late wife, who committed suicide. German follows the voice into the kitchen, where he is abruptly taken back to a time when his wife prepared meals for him. After kissing him and he sits down, while telling him how much she misses him, she pulls out a knife and begins slashing his arm. Luckily, as Ruth walks in to find out what's happening, German awakens from the delusion of the spirit in the house, as he realizes his wife Sophia is not there and German is cutting himself. Sarah is awakened from her sleep by a phone call from an unidentified number. When she answers, she hears Eric begging her help because a man his father sent over was attempting to harm him. The following morning, when she walked outside for an early smoke, Ruth noticed several cats hanging from an old tree in front of the house. Shortly afterward, German informs Daniel, who was burying the cats, that he had never witnessed anything like this before. He warns Daniel not to trust what he sees and the recordings may not be from Eric. When Sarah unexpectedly shows up at the scene and asks about German, Daniel tries to explain, but she is appalled to find the dead cats being buried. She walks away from the scene without a word. As soon as she enters the house and notices him playing with a toy, Sarah tries to touch her baby, but he swiftly hides under the bed. As she kneels, she notices rotten feet on the other side, but when she looks up, nobody is there. The second time she does this, she touches the decayed feet and becomes horrified. Meanwhile, German shows them a historical occurrence that is comparable to the cats hanging. He understands that they are dealing with the spirits of witches who were tormented in this exact house, which doubled as a court where the witches were punished. During his explanation, Sarah's lifeless body bursts through the window and hangs from the upper floor. Daniel tries to carry her legs, but she is gone. This was devastating for Daniel. Later, when the paramedics and police are removing Sarah's body, German discovers they can locate the witch's body. Daniel, on the other hand, is sitting in Eric's room in despair when he watches Sarah carrying Eric in her arms through the plastic sheet. While packing her belongings and deciding to depart, Ruth noticed some odd occurrences on camera. As she attempted to show her father, they heard gunfire from upstairs. Daniel was the one growing suspicious of the voices. They reassure him that they will assist him. After removing a few bricks from the spot where the flies appeared, Daniel takes them to a cave beneath the surface. They find the body of a witch was kept in a cage, who committed all the killings. After German informs them that burning the witch is the only way to get rid of her, everyone starts working. While begs with his daughter to stay upstairs, German goes under and experiences some odd hallucinations. As she is calling for her father, the ghost tricks Ruth to going into the other room by posing as her mother. When the spirit takes possession of her, she attacks her father, who is on the verge of setting the evil witch on fire. Daniel is also possessed, after being seduced by his wife and son's hallucinations. After dousing himself in gasoline, he is preparing to set himself on fire. German, however, pulls Ruth away, burns the corpse wrapped in gasoline, and eliminates the witch. Ruth thus gets set free, as evidenced by the fly that exits from her ear. After treating her father, she talks openly with him about her mother. However, Daniel's situation did not improve once he was set free from the witch. When he notices a sketch by Eric, he realizes that he was the one who grabbed his son and drowned him, while under the influence of the spirit. As he can't live with himself, he shoots himself to death. As the film comes to a close, Ruth discovers Daniel's lifeless body in the pool. Thanks for watching, and remember to turn on your notifications to watch more movie recaps like this one.